Offs underway at the Internal Revenue Service as filing season approaches.
And the IRS could see a sharp drop in revenue collected this tax filing season.
President Trump's plan to abolish the IRS.
April 15th, the day Americans dread most. Every year, we collectively spend 6.5 billion hours and $234 billion just trying to figure out what we owe the government. The IRS employs 93,000 people. It collected $4.9 trillion last year. That's trillion with a T. And every election cycle, some politician stands up and says, we should just abolish the IRS. The crowd goes wild. Everyone cheers. It's beautiful. But here's the thing nobody ever explains. That $4.9 trillion funds literally everything the federal government does. So what happens the day after you abolish the IRS? Not in some fantasy where we magically replace it with a better system. Just abolish it. Tomorrow. Done. No more IRS. Spoiler alert, it's not pretty. Day 1. We did it, Patrick. We saved the city. Let's set the scene. Congress passes the IRS Abolition Act of 2026. The president signs it. It's official. 93,000 IRS employees get pink slips. The buildings close. The servers shut down. No more audits, no more tax returns, no more refunds, no more withholding, no more anything. America celebrates. This is the greatest day in modern history. We're free. And then someone in the Treasury Department raises their hand and asks a question. How are we going to pay for stuff? See, the federal government spends about $6.8 trillion a year. Social Security, Medicare, the military, federal salaries, everything. The IRS collects $4.9 trillion of that. The rest comes from borrowing. Without the IRS, without income taxes, corporate taxes, payroll taxes, the federal government just lost 72% of its revenue overnight. Week 1, the immediate crisis. First things first, what still has funding? Well, Social Security and Medicare are mandatory spending. They're supposed to continue automatically. But here's the fun part. They're funded by payroll taxes, which the IRS collected. Whoops. 65 million Social Security recipients are supposed to get checks on the 3rd of the month. Nobody knows if that's happening now. The military? Also supposed to be funded. 2 million active duty and reserve personnel. Are they still getting paid? Unclear. The Pentagon is frantically calling the Treasury Department. The Treasury Department is frantically calling nobody because the IRS is gone. Federal employees? All 2.3 million of them? Your guess is as good as theirs. But the real chaos starts when the bond market opens on Monday. See, the U.S. borrows money by selling Treasury bonds. Other countries, banks, and investors buy them because U.S. bonds are the safest investment on earth. Why? Because the U.S. always pays its debts. Always. Except, how are you going to pay back bonds without tax revenue? Monday morning, Treasury tries to auction $54 billion in bonds, a routine sale that happens every week. There are no buyers. None. The interest rate the U.S. has to offer goes from 4% to 8% overnight, then 12%. Then trading is halted because nobody knows what's happening. The stock market opens, takes one look at this mess, and immediately drops 2,000 points before the circuit breakers kick in. Month 1. The federal government tries stuff. Okay, so we've abolished the IRS. Now what? Well, the federal government still has some revenue sources that don't involve the IRS. Customs duties and tariffs, about $80 billion a year. Federal Reserve profits, around $70 billion. Other fees and fines, maybe $150 billion total. So out of the $6.8 trillion the government normally spends, they now have roughly $300 billion. That's a 95% budget cut. The government now has to run on 5% of its normal budget. To put that in perspective, just Social Security and Medicare alone cost $2.5 trillion. The military is another $800 billion. Interest on our existing debt? $640 billion. With $300 billion in revenue, the government can't even pay the interest on money it already borrowed. This is where it gets creative. And by creative, I mean desperate. Option 1. Print money. The Treasury could just
Print more dollars. Flood the economy with cash. This definitely won't cause hyperinflation. Definitely not. Option 2, emergency fees. Congress passes a federal services fee, basically a new tax, but don't call it a tax. Want your Social Security check? $100 processing fee. Need your passport? $500. Using a federal highway? Toll booth every 10 miles. It's not a tax, it's a fee. Totally different. Option 3, sell assets. Start auctioning off federal property. The Grand Canyon is now brought to you by Amazon Prime. Yellowstone becomes a Marriott resort. The Liberty Bell, some billionaire's lawn ornament. Option 4, just stop paying for things. This is what actually happens. Month 2, the collapse accelerates. By month 2, the federal government has essentially declared bankruptcy without actually using that word. Social Security checks delayed indefinitely. 65 million Americans, many of them elderly, many with no other income, aren't getting paid. Food banks are overwhelmed within days. Senior citizens are moving in with their kids. Some are becoming homeless. Medicare payments to doctors and hospitals also stopped. Hospitals start refusing Medicare patients because they're not getting reimbursed. If you're over 65 and need medical care, you better have cash. The FAA furloughs air traffic controllers. Major airlines ground their fleets. The FDA stops all operations. Nobody's inspecting food or approving drugs. The CDC goes dark. Disease surveillance gone. And here's the kicker. All the people who wanted to abolish the IRS are now screaming, "Do something." Month 3, the states strike back. Nature abhors a vacuum. So do states. With the federal government in free fall, states start taking matters into their own hands. California, with the world's 5th largest economy, announces it will create its own tax system and fund its own version of Social Security for California residents. New York follows, then Illinois, then Texas. Within weeks, you've got 50 different states creating 50 different tax systems with 50 different rules. Good luck if you move. Good luck if you work remotely for a company in another state. Good luck if you do business across state lines. Some states offer huge tax incentives to lure businesses. Florida and Texas advertise zero income tax. Others are desperately needing revenue. California's income tax hits 20%. New York's goes to 18%. Wealthy people flee high-tax states en masse. U-Haul runs out of trucks leaving California. Meanwhile, poor states, the ones that received more federal money than they paid in, are in free fall. Mississippi, Louisiana, West Virginia, without federal funding, their governments collapse entirely. Interstate highways start crumbling because there's no federal funding. Some states set up toll booths at their borders. The United States starts looking pretty ununited. Month 6, the new normal. It's weird. By month 6, America has adapted, sort of. The federal government still exists technically, but it's a shadow of its former self. It runs on tariffs, fees, and whatever money it can print without triggering complete hyperinflation. What does it actually do now? The military is down to 30% of its former size. Social Security and Medicare are gone, replaced by a patchwork of state programs. Most federal agencies have dissolved entirely. The Supreme Court still meets because tradition? But here's where it gets interesting. Some states have formed regional compacts. The West Coast states created the Pacific Economic Zone with their own shared currency, tax system, and trade agreements. The Northeast has the Atlantic Federation. The South has tried to form something, but they're still arguing about whether to call it the Southern Economic Alliance or literally anything else that doesn't sound like the Confederacy. Texas, predictably, went solo. The Republic of Texas Economic Zone has its own trade deals with Mexico and Canada. Some corporations have gotten so powerful that they essentially function as quasi-governments. Amazon offers Prime citizenship. Pay $5,000 a year and get access to Amazon schools, Amazon healthcare, and Amazon security forces. It's dystopian, it's weird, and it's what happens when you destroy the thing that funded everything without a replacement plan. Year 1. What have we learned? So, it's been a year since we abolished the IRS. How's it going? The economy? GDP has contracted by 30%. The dollar has lost half its value. Unemployment is at 18%. The stock market is down 60% from pre-abolition levels. Quality of life? Life expectancy has dropped by 3 years. Preventable diseases are surging. Infrastructure is crumbling. Government debt? Without the ability to collect taxes, the U.S. has defaulted on its debt for the first time in history. Treasury bonds, once the safest investment on earth, are now considered junk. International standing? Without a functional federal government, the U.S. is no longer a superpower. China and the EU have filled the vacuum. NATO has essentially dissolved. But hey, at least nobody has to fill out a 1040 anymore. Oh wait, they do, because each state has its own version. And if you live in one state and work in another, you're filling out multiple state tax returns that are somehow more complicated than the federal system ever was. Here's the thing about the IRS. People hate it. I get it. Nobody likes paying taxes. But the IRS isn't the problem. It's the tax code that's the problem. The IRS just enforces the rules Congress wrote. Abolishing the IRS doesn't make taxes go away. It just makes it impossible to collect them. And when you can't collect taxes, you can't fund anything. No military, no Social Security, no Medicare, no roads, no food safety, no air traffic control, no nothing. You want to fix the tax system? Great. Simplify the code, make it fair, close loopholes. But abolishing the IRS? That's not fixing the system. That's setting the country on fire and hoping something better grows from the ashes. Spoiler? It won't. The next time a politician says they want to abolish the IRS, ask them one simple question. Okay, and then what? If they can't answer that, maybe don't vote for them.